Welcome back to the Fighters Corner podcast for another epi. In today's episode, we brought back Mr. Senor Miguel Iturrate and discussed things MMA and UFC related. Me and Mike are having a lot of fun with Miguel, and it's starting to show as of late. Today's episode, we discuss things in MMA, in the MMA world, in regards to the fights that just took place this past weekend, and a lot of stuff that's coming on the horizon, and some things that you might not be thinking about. Enjoy the podcast, guys. Thanks for listening. So who are you taking in this weekend's fights? I know who I got, and it's not who you think. So I'm going to take my picks over to the world's safest and most trusted online gambling site and make a few bets. That's right, it's BetDSI.com. With more than 20 years' experience in the online gaming industry, BetDSI has the best sign-up and deposit promotions on the web. They also boast more deposit options than any other betting site, including fast, free, and secure payouts. Also, for our listeners, they are offering a special promotion where you can build a bigger bankroll and get 100% sports cash bonus when using our promo code Fighters Corner, all one word. That's 50% more sports cash by using our promo code Fighters Corner. Check out BetDSI for all your online gaming needs. Also, please don't forget to subscribe, hit like, share, all because you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Radio Player, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, and the guy sitting next to you on the train is probably listening to us too. And if you can, show us your support by finding us on Patreon, where you can let us know how much you love us. And if you're a fan of boxing, jiu-jitsu, kumite, and even capoeira, go check out my guys at UCL MMA. These guys are the heavyweight champions of mixed martial arts shows. And if you think you're the next Johnny Lawrence, go to their website at uclmma.com, shoot them an email and tell them John sent you before asking their matchmaker that you want to defend your All Valley Karate Championship versus one of their fighters. That's uclmma.com. I also want to thank our new Danish friends from Denmark, Malte Castro, who was kind enough to let us use his beats for this podcast. I've listened to his tracks, and this kid's pretty talented for being this young. If you like the track being played right now, go check out his music on Spotify, and you can also find Malte Castro on Instagram and Facebook. Go find this guy. It's pretty good music.
Fighters Corner Podcast. My name's Mike Davis. John Goroski is sitting across from me.
Guten Tag.
And on the phone, we have Miguel Iturrate. Miguel, we had a big UFC weekend here in Chicago. What happened?
Well, obviously the main event came in the bantamweight division. It was a banner weekend for the bantamweights, I guess. And what we had flyweight champion Henry Judo become a champ with a victory over Marlon Moraes. He was a slight underdog. And what we have is, we now have a champ with Henry Judo holding the 125 and 135-pound UFC titles.
That seems to be everybody's goal right now. And, when you looked at, like, the era when George St. Pierre, had his reign at 170 and Anderson Silva was at 85, the idea of champ was floated many, many times. But no one ever, stepped in that direction, in order to make that happen, to thread that needle. And it's interesting to see that now it seems to be, instead of 8 champions, now we only have 4 champions. But they're not champions.
Yeah.
They're champions. So,
they should do something about that, right? I mean, you got one fighter holding up the belt in 2 weight classes.
Well, that's okay, as long as they defend it.
Yeah, but I mean, how often can they defend it? Once a year? So now you're seeing one
every 6 weeks.
They should.
They
should.
So essentially, you're going 3 times a year, and as Miguel will tell you that when you fight at high levels of boxing, you only fight once or twice a year.
Right.
Right, Miguel?
Yeah, that's the truth. And, when you consider the elite guys of the UFC follows that model as well.
Yeah, and, if you want to get a guy beat and you're a promoter, there's an easy way to do it. You fight them every 5 to 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. So there's no downtime. There's no relaxing. There's no partying. If there's somebody that you absolutely want to flush out of your system, you just make them fight, twice as much as everybody else, and they believe you're doing them a favor.
Right.
But then you get the Buster Douglas effect, like when he fought Mike Tyson.
Right.
Like someone's going to have a bad night. It's just when and against who. Like Ronda Rousey, look at her intense schedule.
Right.
And I'm not saying Holly Holm didn't deserve that win, but when you fight that consistently, sometimes you need a little downtime. And, when you're champ, you're kind of doing that to yourself.
I think the UFC should put like some sort of calendar limit on how long you can hold these belts for before.
But no. It depends on pay-per-views. Okay, calendar, I get that, but it's as stupid as it sounds.
I mean,
that belt, even if it's an interim belt, makes a significant difference, like a noticeable, palatable difference on payper-view buys.
Oh, I agree.
So
I think there should be more belts. I really do.
I agree with you.
We've discussed this, like doing another podcast about it.
Yeah.
But like, I honestly think like, so the UFC's got 600 fighters and I don't know 10 weight classes, but between male and female. I don't know.
Okay,
a lot. But
14 or 15, whatever.
The bottom line is not enough for 600 fighters. I honestly think that the UFC should create another brand.
Like a feeder league.
Yeah. Bring back WEC. How cool would that be? So, like, if you got any champion that just come off a loss and then his bounce back bout is another loss, send him to the feeder program. You know what I mean?
Let him earn one back there.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what B2 Digital is putting together right now. They're grabbing a whole bunch of independent organizations and kind of putting them all on the same page with the forethought that it's going to kind of culminate into a feeder system because it is definitely needed.
Yeah.
Like when you look at like business models like the WWE, they have an NXT faction of their business.
Right.
And the UFC doesn't pull any punches when they say, the perfect business model is the WWE, and they even hire executives away from the WWE in order to kind of reshape and understand exactly what's happening in their organization to try to mimic what Vince McMahon is doing.
Right.
So that B2 Digital, there's even stock available for it. I think it's going to be real interesting to see how that shakes out. In fact, we're going to have Chris Lytle in here to kind of...
He represents them, doesn't he?
We're going to do a deep dive with him probably in the next month or two. Probably, I'm thinking about August. But so Cejudo was an underdog in that fight, and he pulled it off. And he really wasn't a heavy underdog, though. Am I correct with that, Miguel?
That's right. I have the odds at minus 120 for... Moraes as at the closing time, and that left Cejudo at even money, so it was very tight.
I'm surprised at that because I thought there would have been a larger disparity based on the weight, and Moraes is just a freaking murderer. Cejudo figured him out, but that first round was brutal. All right, what else you got, Miguel?
If you want to stay in Chicago, rather, why don't we talk a little bit of Cerrone and Ferguson, which was the other standout fight of the UFC Chicago weekend.
I'll tell you this.
Did it live up to expectations?
Man, it was good. It was good.
Were you let down by the end result?
You know what, man? No, I wasn't. That fight was pretty incredible. Like I could sit here and say, oh wow. He shouldn't have blown his nose, and it made his eye puff up. But at the end of the day, man, that thing was a war. That's a headline fight. Any other card, that's a headline fight, or a co-headline.
What's next for Ferguson?
It's really kind of difficult to wrap your head around. Like, here, Tony Ferguson is a monster. We've said that, and I think his biggest problem is that he doesn't say no. Like, Ferguson's a warrior. He's a stud. In a room full of alpha males, he is the most alpha.
Yeah.
But the issue is he doesn't say no. Like, he got the interim belt, was doing pre-fight press for Nurmagomedov, for the fourth time that they were supposed to fight. And Nurmagomedov pulled off twice. Ferguson pulled off twice. And I would say if I had a table and I had to tilt it in one way, in one direction or another in regards to like who shouldn't have pulled out, Ferguson's side definitely wouldn't be culpable. Like, you had a missed weight, and then I think there was an injury on Nurmagomedov's side, and the missed weight was like during weigh-ins, like his final cut. Like, it was just a bad plan in regards to diet.
Yeah.
But Ferguson gets the interim belt, does an interview for the fourth time that they were going to fight for the UFC, trips over some wiring and blows his knee out. And has healed and recovered, and now he's back, but no one's really concentrating on that knee. It's weird. Like, I think his first fight back, he took a couple inside leg kicks and a couple kicks to that knee. Like, the guy was kind of focusing on it.
Sure.
But no one really has since then, and it doesn't seem to have slowed him down. But Ferguson, if he were smart, he would just tell the UFC, no, I'm not fighting until I get my title fight.
Right.
It's something I earned 3 fights ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the guy's on a 13 or 14 fight win streak.
Right.
Ferguson has to say no.
Right.
And I don't see it happening. Like, you've got a guy that
He's too alpha to say no.
He's too alpha to say no, which is why you need management.
Yeah.
Like, you need management to say, dude, you need to get a case of the Nick and Nate Diaz's, and you just need to say, yeah, okay, well, I'm going to sit on the sidelines and ride my contract out, or you can give me the fight that I'm supposed to have.
Right.
Either way, I'm cool.
Yeah.
But I'm going to sit, and I'm going to be in fight shape or fight ready or close to it until you make that phone call. But one of those two things is going to happen. Either I'm riding out of here, or you're giving me what I want.
Yeah. Yeah, strange days in the UFC right now, huh? Maybe it's a little... Let's throw a question out there. Who's the face of the UFC right now?
In my opinion,
It's the same as it's been for the last 15 years.
Dana White. Okay.
yeah. All right,
Who's the face of the UFC?
Now that we've all, agreed with you.
Who's looking fat, by the way. Dana's looking like, I'm sure he beat me up. It's not about, talking shit.
Well.
But he's looking fat and out of shape. Like, with the Fertittas, he used to at least mess around and stuff. But yeah, Dana's, taking on the Henry VIII role.
He was always getting ready for that Tito Ortiz boxing fight, so he always had the same shit.
You know what, man? You guys talk shit about that. Dana White beats Tito Ortiz in a boxing match then and today. I'm telling you, he does.
Let me ask you a question. Have you seen Dana box?
I've seen some pad work of his, but I've seen Tito box, and that's enough for me to know that
Tito
Dana White
box.
beats him up. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you've got a guy that's not even a B-level amateur.
Okay, but all right, but going back to the question, like, if you were to put a poster
Right now,
who is it?
in my personal opinion...
Let me guess. Does he wear a cape and crown?
No. Does he do magic tricks at weigh-ins? No, he doesn't. It's Tony Ferguson. Yeah.
He's got to be, right? He doesn't even have a belt.
He doesn't have... Well, he's got the interim belt that he, carries around with him. You know what's kind of weird?
Why is it just...
No, I can tell you. I can tell you that's kind of weird. All right, so the UFC redid their belts, right?
Yeah, the design. They look pretty cool.
I like it. Yeah, no, for sure. Why not? Hey, change it up.
Yeah,
why not? Right. Don't get married to something that, is meaningless or can be improved. All right, so here we go. His interim belt was the old UFC belt. The interim belt that he's carrying around that the UFC doesn't acknowledge is the new belt.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, I think Ferguson probably put a disguise on, got in line at one of the events, and purchased it at the souvenir stand.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I'm thinking happened. Because I don't think the UFC gave it to him. I'm almost positive they didn't give it to him.
The Groucho Marx glasses and nose on.
With the nose, 100%. I mean, I know sometimes we make bold statements here. I am telling you the UFC did not give him that belt.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, going back to the days that we're in right now in the UFC, you don't have a poster boy. I mean, we're settling with Tony Ferguson. I'm not going to argue.
Legitimately, right now, they're all over McGregor, who
hasn't fought in, 2 years?
It's not
3 years?
1 year.
1 year?
Yeah, no, I think they're trying to move on from McGregor. One thing that recently hit the news that was interesting that ties into the discussion is Khabib's management was on Twitter and things, and they stated that as of right now, with the new contract and with the Poirier fight and with the post suspension, that Khabib is the highest paid athlete in the UFC.
Yeah, but it also has a clause of him fighting GSP in there, like by name.
Well, yeah, it's already a negotiated term in the contract.
Okay, here we go. Who's Khabib's next opponent? Dustin Poirier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think Khabib wins that fight.
I think so too.
And Poirier is a bad boy.
Oh yeah,
for sure. But I think Ferguson beats Khabib.
Really?
100%. He's not going to be. Khabib fades later on. Mm-hmm. Like if you get past the second round with Khabib, it's going to a decision. 100% of the time. Tony Ferguson gets stronger.
Yeah.
Well, he stopped McGregor in the fourth.
Oh, okay, you got another guy with severe cardio issues. You're right, but like, look at L.I. Quinta.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it went 5 round short notice fight.
Yeah,
Khabib lost the third round in that. I might add, against McGregor. So I mean, the counter. Okay, you're right, Miguel. I'm wrong. However, McGregor wins that third round, gets finished in the fourth, and McGregor has severe cardio issues as well. It comes down to breathing. And when you have a fighter that tends to fade, okay, and it happens. I mean, it's genetic at times, and he tends to fade. In between rounds, your job as a cornerman is not only dispensing advice for that fighter, but it's also to make sure that you're getting as much oxygen and knowledge into them.
Yeah.
So there's 2 things that Conor does that absolutely drives me crazy, and it's kind of like a litmus test for whether a fighter faked his way into the UFC just on sheer athleticism and the camp doesn't know what they're doing. And it's essentially, you got to have a very small mouthpiece. The bulkier the mouthpiece, the more difficult it is to breathe.
Yeah.
Okay? Tiny mouthpiece. And number 2, in between rounds, if your corner doesn't do this, I have severe issues with them. And that is, remove the mouthpiece from your fighter's mouth.
Yeah.
They keep Conor's mouthpiece in. So you got a guy that's huffing and puffing by the third round, and you're keeping his mouthpiece in while he's sitting on a stool. You know, you're trying to get an advantage or an edge there.
Right.
Does that sound like that's something you should do?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree.
How could you not?
Yeah, but then also, too, like, you look at, like, a guy like Kavanaugh who probably knows what McGregor is eating, drinking, how his sleeping habits are. He knows everything about him.
Okay.
And he's helped him up until this point.
Take his mouthpiece out.
No, hey, John Kavanaugh, are you listening? Are you listening, Kavanaugh?
Tag him.
Take the mouthpiece out.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe do a hashtag. We'll make it.
Hashtag take your mouthpiece out. Damn it.
Yeah, so I think Ferguson, I mean, Miguel, what do you think? Do you think Ferguson beats Khabib?
I don't know.
Look at that pressure.
I think it's a dead even money fight. But yeah, you're talking about pressure against pressure. So whose pressure is going to come first?
Yeah, but
is
one
Khabib
pressure,
a little bit bigger? Is Khabib a little bit stronger? Is Khabib in the first 2 rounds, as you said, before he fades, going to put it on Ferguson and maybe damage him enough so that he can handle the rush? That's what he does. I've not heard too many people, Daniel Cormier, many analysts, not too many people question Khabib's gas. And Khabib will take you through a 5-round fight and just beat the tar out of you all 5 rounds. So even if he's slower in the fifth, as everybody is, he's beating the hell out of you, so you are already damaged and much slower, and it doesn't do you any good. That's the way Khabib applies pressure. So you're talking about pressure against pressure. So that fight gets answered maybe in the opening minutes by who is able to establish themselves. And I don't know that you're going to be walking into a fresh Khabib and forcing backwards. Ooh, that's tough.
Well, Daniel Cormier has gone on record stating that he has never seen Khabib lose a single round, including practice. But he did lose round 3 against McGregor. He slows down. Like, if you look at his takedown output in the first 2 rounds, it's damn near 75%, which is insane. And then when you go to the later rounds, there's a significant dip. And I think that's when Ferguson pulls ahead. I mean, it's as long as Ferguson doesn't get finished in the first 2 rounds, which I think would be incredibly difficult for the style of fighting, that Khabib displays. Ferguson wins that fight. Like, I would go to betdsi.com and I'm definitely throwing money on that fight. But I think there's a promo code you put in.
Fighter's Corner.
That's
all
it.
one word.
I think it doubles your cash.
I mean, looking at the landscape of the UFC, what big money fights are left? Like, that you can think of off the top of your head.
You know what?
Don't include George St. Pierre.
I got this one. Miguel, does this bring us to our next topic? This is a segue, John. I'm gonna bring you along in this industry, okay?
All right.
Yeah, I mean we're astute journalists here. Go ahead, Miguel. What's the next topic?
Learn me something.
Is this the part where you asked me to bring up the light heavyweights?
Yeah, this is, Miguel. But we're supposed to transition really smooth so people think we know what we're doing here. So go ahead, Miguel.
Right, and I'm going right off your transition, so we're going to do this heavy-handed.
You hear that, John? That is journalism right there.
I'm learning something.
So what we have on the landscape here is we got Jon Jones dominating at light heavyweight, and we had a couple contenders in Gustafsson and Smith, who he's already beaten, shake things out with an extended number one contender fight. But right now, Jon Jones still owns the light heavyweight division.
Well, that's interesting. Well, here's a couple things. And I'm not going to mention picograms. Okay, I'm not going to mention that he's actually on designer steroids, probably mined from his brothers that played in the NFL, with scientists that regularly talk to those guys. So we're not going to bring any of that up. Okay,
no.
So because we've discussed it ad nauseum, I mean, we would become annoying if we continue down that path. So let's really look at 205. Well, we're also not going to mention that he's not going to fight out of California as well.
Yeah.
That's like his
or
safe
Russia.
space.
Russia.
He can go to Russia or he can go to California. Yeah. You want to talk about Russians, affecting some sort of outcome here in the United States? You got to talk to the California Athletic Commissioner. Okay, all right. So let's look at 205. All right, let's look at the recently retired guys.
Okay,
Gustafsson, gone. King Mo, gone. Anthony Rumble Johnson. Well, I think he's got another fight coming up from a different organization.
What, the police department or the...
No, I think he's fighting his local deputies on his front lawn next time his wife calls 911. So, and then Jimmy Manoa, gone.
Yeah.
All retired, right?
I think I might join the 205 division.
You could do it. I mean, you could definitely do that. Now let's look at the guys about to retire. Teixeira on his last leg. Mm-hmm. Little Nog. His coaches need to be begging him to hanging up. Mm-hmm. Shogun.
I know, huh?
Do we even need to discuss what he needs to do?
There's no bigger fan in the world.
I'm not done.
Oh, no.
I'm not done yet,
no.
John. DC moved up to heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So let's look at our pool here. Okay, you got Johnny Walker. Dude has been smoking guys, but he's got under 12 fights.
Yeah.
He's not ready yet. So, in essence, if I'm Jon Jones, the smartest thing that he could do right now is take the Floyd Mayweather approach. You get them when they're really young, really green, and they haven't yet really found their foundation. Like when he fought Canelo Alvarez, that's a phenomenal win that he wouldn't have been able to get 3-4 years later. So Johnny Walker had shoulder surgery because he injured himself celebrating after his fight. Johnny Walker is going to be out for, as of today, as of this published, he's probably going to be out about another 8-9 months.
That's bad.
That's super bad, especially with the prospect and the upside that you had a guy that you could build in order to bring over there.
Hey, bring back Chuck Liddell, bring back Tito Ortiz.
Okay, so Miguel, what are the odds? Because I have an answer to this. What are the odds of the next Jon Jones fight coming up?
John's is scheduled to fight Thiago Santos here, and that's the headline fight of UFC 239, July 6th in Vegas.
That's coming up.
And
it's Hall of Fame weekend.
Jones. You got Joe. Yeah, but it's a big expo and stuff like that they do at the beginning of July. Jones is a minus 600 favorite. Santos kicking back at plus 450 right now.
Okay, so that's pretty heavily favored towards Jon Jones. Definitely leaning towards Jon Jones. So there is one answer in order for a super fight at 205, and it's not a Donajay. Okay, the 85er that they want to move up, because of his striking. What you want to do is you want to take Yoel Romero and you want to move him up. He's missed weight several times at 85. It's a hard cut for him. I think Yoel Romero is the answer to Jon Jones.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good idea.
That's a really good idea.
I like to see it.
Would you pay to see that?
Yeah, no, that's one of the... that answers the question somewhat. What super fights are left in the UFC?
That's a super fight. Yeah. Miguel, Yoel Romero versus Jon Jones. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, on paper and it's definitely a credible match, and it would probably be more of a threat to Jones than some of the guys that we've listed here before.
And if I'm Yoel Romero,
I think the more likely choice there for an eventual super fight of a guy moving up is going to be Luke Rockhold. Rockhold's already made the move up. He's already talked the trash and stuff. So I don't know. I'm not. Rockhold's been chinny, so it's like, yeah, big deal. But Rockhold also is a guy hoping to grab that mantle. I don't know. You pick your poison, Romero or Rockhold. Either way, we're talking about 185 pounders being the biggest threat to Jones, which. I don't know how much of a threat it is overall.
Man, I remember growing up, 205 was the deepest weight class.
Wow, Ortiz kind of emptied it, though. I mean, Ortiz had, man. Truth be told, Ortiz had a lot of soft fights.
He did. I'm talking after that, like when Chuck Liddell was around, Rashad Evans, Shogun, Dan Henderson.
Yeah, it was sick.
I mean, it was so deep. You know what I mean? Like, I think light heavyweight.
Forrest Griffin.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, dude! You just, man. I mean, I know this is off topic. The UFC has been putting out like the 25-year anniversary. They've been putting out like short documentaries. Dude, if you watch those documentaries, the UFC is. I'm a huge fan of what it is they're doing. You watch those documentaries, man, dude, they get your blood going, especially like the early days B-roll footage.
Yeah.
You want Star Wars out to some stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. Miguel, you're right. I mean, you've got 85-pounders moving up to challenge Jon Jones, but Jon Jones, as we had discussed earlier, if you want to get a champion beat, you just kind of keep him busy. Jon Jones, the type of habits that he has displayed in the past, is a prime candidate for somebody that has the ability to lose based on like lack of preparation.
Why doesn't he move up to heavyweight?
Well, I mean, eventually he's going to move up to heavyweight. That's coming. And if you look at it, going in the other direction, I think that's how you beat Jones. If you wanted to take Jones and you want to take Jones and move him to heavyweight, move him to heavyweight right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wouldn't put him in with DC. I wouldn't put him in with DC first. I would say you got to do one fight to earn a title shot because I know you're Jon Jones, but that's the way it works. You got to do one heavyweight fight, right?
Can you imagine
they don't have to do that, but they could. The point is you put Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou together.
Jesus,
how does that look?
That is actually a super fight I'd like to watch, too.
I mean, you know what? You're kind of going old school pride at that point. It's a freak show, which who isn't a fan of?
Yeah.
I know.
You got a 255-pound guy that has knocked just about everybody's head off. And he's athletic, maybe athletic enough to hold off Jones, and he's going to be bigger and stronger. So, Luke Rockhold versus Jon Jones or Francis Ngannou versus Jon Jones, what moves your meter more?
Ngannou.
Yeah.
Rockhold is definitely one of the smartest fighters in the UFC today, I think.
But he might, after his last fight.
A little bit long in the tooth, though.
Yeah. And that's no disrespect.
No, dude. I love Rockhold. Man.
Yeah.
I really do. Yeah. I really, really do.
Yeah, when you get to some of those peaks, the fall doesn't have to be major for there to be a drop off. Yeah, I agree with you. And did you see Karolina Kowalkiewicz retire?
I did.
I've been watching. She didn't retire. She said she would fight again, but that she really feels that she's done fighting at the absolute top level. That she can't get herself up anymore. That could be what we see with Rockhold. He just may not be smart enough, like Carolina, to admit it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Miguel, is there any other odds that we should be looking at for some of the upcoming fights?
Well, one of the things that's noticeable, I mean, we've got a bunch of big UFCs that are already on the book. So, like, if you head out to UFC 239, scheduled for July 6th with John Jones as the headliner, I got odds for Nunez and Holm there. Luke Rockhold is on that card, making his debut at 205 pounds. And then if you fast forward to UFC 240, you've got Yoel Romero getting his fight in with Thiago Santos at 185. So we got a couple of the guys we've been talking about that are booked to fight already.
Nunez Holmes, what are the odds on that?
And Nunez, obviously coming off her dismantling of Cyborg, is a big minus 345 favorite right now, with Holm paying back at plus 285.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Does she have a chance?
Holmes, how could she not?
Mm-hmm.
Nunez hits like a Mack truck, but it's not finesse.
Yeah.
It's just brute strength. It's
and
savagery.
This won't be the first time Holly Holmes come into a fight as a major underdog.
You know what?
Winning.
You know what? I'm going to throw some cash on that one.
Go to
$285. BetDSI.eu.com. Promo code Fighters Corner. Double your
cash.
Your cash right there. That's the one I'm doing, John.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I'm doing.
Why not?
Yeah. All right. Who else do you got, Miguel?
Yeah, just to stay on Holm for a quick minute, I do think she's a good bet. I mean, she was definitely an underdog for the Rousey fight the first time out, and you see kind of what happened there. So definitely with her mindset, her game plan, and the fight starts standing up, right? So you got to give her a good chance. I think that is a decent dog look at, take a look at it and see what happens. On the ladies' side, there's not much else going on in terms of big, high-profile stuff. I think we're kind of waiting on Amanda Nunez and see how that whole thing shakes out. As I mentioned, Jones and Santos is on that card. Rockhold is facing John Blachowicz. Blachowicz, a pretty tested veteran at light heavyweight, and Rockhold's coming in a minus 180 favorite, so he's expected to do well at light heavyweight. Blachowicz paying back at plus 150.
Okay.
Also on that card is the Masvidal-Askren fight, and that's a big one. Askren, a minus 205 favorite, and
what's Masvidal
is returning at plus 165 there.
Man, dude,
I still take Askren.
That's a card I'm going to be paying to watch.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can tell you. Well, excellent. Miguel, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you guys listening to the Fighters Corner. And if you can like, share, subscribe to our channel, it'd be greatly appreciated. And we're going to see you guys on the flip side.